Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Scott from Heroic Studios Gaming. How are you? You can tell by the thing right there that this is a Rogue Trader video today. So let's talk about Rogue Trader. Let's talk about the Warhammer 40k universe role-playing game systems first. This is a Warhammer role-playing universe, I guess, as it were. And then we'll also talk about, we'll talk specifically about Rogue Trader. And we'll also grace you with a story about how I got into them, which I haven't done in the other videos yet. All right, so Warhammer 40k, we've already discussed the company and how it came about. They decided in like 2008 or something, 2006, I don't know when they decided, but somewhere around then, they decided that they were going to start making role-playing games based in the universe, that they had had enough with just the miniature games and the Black Library, that they were going to go ahead and make a role-playing game because role-playing games were dying off. So they decided, let's jump in at this point. I don't know. They were getting really unpopular, and then the resurgence occurred in like 2012 or something. Anyway, there was like a decline right about this time, and they decided to jump in. So they signed an agreement with Fantasy Flight Games, and they made the first of the series of role-playing games that they had, which was called Dark Heresy. That's what it's called. Dark Heresy, which was a role-playing game in which you followed the Inquisitors. You were agents of the Inquisition, and your job was to find problems in the universe, like, heretics. Then they made their second game, which is this one, Rogue Trader, which came out in 2009. And then there was Deathwatch, which was the one where you played as Deathwatch Space Marines, followed quickly by Black Crusade, which was the opposite, where you played Chaos Marines, which was an interesting thing for them to have done. And then I think the last one was called Only War, that they made with Fantasy Flight Games, and then that's when they stopped making role-playing games for a long time. Only War was like Imperial Guardsmen, and it was in like 2012, and that's sort of where it died. Partially because the market sort of died off at that point, and like it was really the insurgent of like D&D and like Stranger Things that like brought it back real fast. But like in 2012, like it was many people were afraid that role-playing games weren't going to be a thing anymore. And Fantasy Flight, even, like, that's when they started like screwing around with their different game systems. They started creating like only board games, and they stopped making some. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that too much, but the point is that it was about Imperial Guardsmen, and it was really boring, and nobody wanted to play it because you could already play a Space Marine. Why would you play it as an Imperial Guardsman when you could play as a Space Marine, or you could play as an agent of the Inquisition, or you could be a Rogue Trader? Why the hell would you just be a random guardsman? I don't know. It was weird. But anyway, they came out with a sixth game, which just came out just a few years ago, I think in 2016, called Wrath and Glory, which I do have. It's on my bookshelf right over there. But I have the Cubicle 7 version, which is not important right now. But there was an original version called Ulysses Spiel, which I have. The company Ulysses Spiel released, but I have that on PDF. But I have the book from Cubicle 7 right over there. So that all aside, let's talk about how I got involved in the role-playing game and role-playing games, and then played this one, and why I like Warhammer 40k. So let's do that real fast, because all of these videos out there, these all kind of like all the videos I make on my Patreon, if you put them all together, you could get like little insights into my life and why I do things. There's little histories about me that like aren't really said anywhere except here, or if you know me really well and I've told you about them before. But what happened was in 2016, I was in a group of 2015. Yeah, 2015. I was in a group of gamers. It was a group of people, some of which I worked with, and then others were like their friends and or like companions. Like there was a wife of one of the players was in our group, and we had this group of gamers, and we'd been playing Pathfinder, I think, or something. Yeah, we were playing a Pathfinder game, and like people were kind of getting bored. Oh no, we played Dresden. Sorry, we were playing Pathfinder, and then we decided we want to do something other than fantasy. So we tried Dresden in the Fates rules, and that was fun. That was fun for a while. It was good to have a campaign of that. And then we decided we wanted to go science fiction, and one of the players, he was like, I really, really want to run a game of like in the Warhammer 40k universe, and there's a couple of different RPGs in the Warhammer 40k universe, and I want to try this space one called Rogue Trader. And so we were all like, sure, why not? That sounds fun. We could do some space. We could do some space for a little while and see how we feel about that. Because like the other option was like Star Wars, and we decided that we were going to go with Warhammer 40k universe for whatever reason. At the time, I didn't know, because I didn't know anything really about the Warhammer 40k universe, because I hadn't yet read the Eisenhorn series, which I talked about in the last video. So we were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And so I got the books from him. He gave me that well, I think he gave me this core book, and then like I found the PDFs on my own. But the and now I have bunches of them that I've purchased. So anyway, I pirated them. I'm gonna admit it. But so I started reading it and I was like, wow, this is really cool. This universe sounds really cool, but it's really complicated. I don't think I understand it. So I turned to YouTube, and 120 hours later, I felt I had a grasp well enough to understand the Warhammer 40K universe to play this game. That's how long it took. I had to watch a lot of videos, lots of different like 1 hour videos that were on like specific Primarchs and or the God Emperor and or Warp and or Chaos. You see where I'm going with this. It was crazy. But I finally got a grasp. I was like, wow, this is intense. And then I picked up the Eisenhorn book. I read the first one, Xenos, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to play. Let's play. And so all of that occurred over 1 month, right? Like what happens when you're single and you just have like a part-time job and you're not in school anymore, you end up like spending a whole month learning a whole universe. So I buried myself into it, and then I was ready to play. I made this character for the game, and we jumped in. Now, let's talk about the game. So, Rogue Trader is a game in which you and your fellow players are on board a Rogue Trader ship. What is a Rogue Trader ship, Scott? That's a good question. What it is a ship that is just like any other ship in the Warhammer 40K universe, which means it's gigantic and full of like 10 to 50,000 people that man it and function on it and live on it, like Babylon 5, but like not, right? It's just like this flying city in space that has your people as the main essential crew members, like sort of like Star Trek, except that you live in the Warhammer 40K universe. The difference that separates you from everything else in the Imperium of Man is that this ship is a Rogue Trader ship, and what that means is that whoever's in charge of the ship, whoever owns the ship, has this special document, this writ. This script from the Emperor that dates back to at least like 10,000 or more years ago that essentially says that this family is a special group in the Imperium of Man, and they have done some service for the Emperor, and therefore they're given leeway to do all kinds of things outside of the rules of the Imperium of Man whilst on board their ship. So your ship essentially becomes sovereign territory to you. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to follow the rules of the Imperium. You really do have to follow the rules of the Imperium, because any reason the Imperium can think that, you're maybe heretical on board your ship, they will send an Inquisitor to your ship. And if you refuse the Inquisitor, then they'll know you're being a heretic, and they will just kill you. So you kind of have to follow the rules of the Imperium to some extent, but you can skirt some rules. You can do a couple of things that are maybe shady or slightly illegal. And no one can really stop you unless they have enough evidence to then bring you to the Inquisition. You see where I'm going with this? Yeah. So as long as you can avoid the Inquisition, you can essentially do whatever the hell you want, and everyone sort of respects that the ship is yours. It's your territory. It doesn't necessarily have to have a God Emperor cult on board, though you probably want them to keep the morale of your ship up. You see where I'm going? You have these different things that you can do on board your ship. It's your world. And that ship then can go around and explore various sources. You can leave the Imperium space and go into uncharted space where you might encounter Xenotech, because you're a Rogue Trader. You do what you want, right? This is how it goes. You can also establish your own empire, essentially, because you can have planets where the planetary governors pay you tithes, and as long as you pay tithes to the Imperium of Man whenever you're back in Imperium Man space, they don't care. So this is the kind of game that you can play. So that's what Rogue Trader is. And so all of the people on board the ship are all these various different roles, and usually game groups will have the Rogue Trader, the family that owns the ship, be an NPC, so that way there isn't particular problems with who's in charge, right? And then you have whoever's in charge in the group at whatever time the group decides, because the group does whatever it does, and doesn't have to worry about a particular title of someone being the Rogue Trader, usually. Now, that is not how we played it. Why did we not play it that way? Because I wanted to be the Rogue Trader. As I mentioned in the Eisenhorn video, I really liked the Rogue Trader character in the Eisenhorn series, and so I was really interested in being the Rogue Trader in this game campaign that we were playing, so I did. And because of that meant the ship was mine, and so everyone on board was me, or belonged to me. And so it was we actually did fine because we played that really well. I'm not like a tyrant, and so I built a character who could do some physical combat for self-defense reasons and not for killing lots of things reasons. There's character archetypes that are designed for killing lots of things. But I was like I can do some self-defense. If someone were to challenge me to a duel, for example, I would probably win, hopefully. But for the most part, my character was built around this fellowship thing, this thing of being able to build morale and give commands and like essentially lead a ship, which was all great. So it became really beneficial for me to actually have been playing the Rogue Trader, because there were many, many times where I could either use my clout or throw around some special abilities I had to make everyone else do better. I was like a bard. I was like playing a bard character, essentially. But I played it really well. We actually had a lot of fun. There was only one moment where we had a bit of a clash between my character and the one who kills lots of things, because I was one-shot killing monsters. Now, the factor of that was he was like doing massive damage to many aliens at the same time, and during this fight, I was just killing one at a time, but I was killing each time. He was maiming each time until eventually he would kill them all. And he killed many himself. His count was like 10 in the end, and I killed like 3. But he was like a little disappointed that I would one-shot kill stuff. But it was like I literally just one-shot killed like one thing. You maimed 3 things at the same time. So it was like a different kind of thing. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that we had a good time, and I'll explain what happened, or one of the reasons why I really liked this game, and it has nothing to do with the storyline that we followed. We were actually following a pre-canned storyline from like the campaign that like comes automatically. There's a adventure at the start of the book, and then there's like a campaign supplement, and the adventure in the core book like leads right into that campaign. We were just doing that, and so we were just doing this canned campaign. It wasn't anything special, but we really enjoyed it I really enjoyed the game for one major reason. And anyone who's played Maximum Apocalypse will sort of see what I stole or borrowed from the way that they did Rogue Trader character creation. So here it is. So Rogue Trader character creation was different than most of the other games. In fact, the other games in the... Whoa, I'm going to go all the way over here. The other games in the Warhammer 40k universe role-playing just uses this typical like sort of Dungeons & Dragons style thing where you pick like a race, you pick like a planet, you pick like a background, or you pick a planet, which is like your race, a background, and then an archetype, and that's it. And then you have like then you just have points to allocate to your skills. They all do that. All the rest of them. So Dark Heresy, Deathwatch, Black Crusade, and Only War just do that. Wrath and Glory is a completely different style of game system, so it's different. It's a different company that made it, so it's different. But for Rogue Trader, they went with this other kind of character creation system that I really liked. And the idea was that you picked these things, your homeworld, your birthright, your lure to the void, your trials and travails, your motivation, and your career. These things had to be linked to each other. You couldn't do random stuff. You couldn't just go Nobleborn and then jump all the way over to Scavenger. It could not be how you did it. They had to link. They had to either be directly below or diagonal to the one that you started, the one that you were on. So when you went down from Nobleborn, you could go to Vaunted or Savant, right? And then from Savant, you could go to Duty Bound, Zealot, or Chosen by Destiny. You see where I'm going with this? And then Duty Bound, you could be Calamity, Shiplorn, or Dark Voyage, right? These are the things you could do. So in order to become a Rogue Trader, you see there that very last bit right here, right there, right? The very last bit there. In order to get there, you had to come from Prestige. And so to come from Prestige, you had to come from High Vendetta or Dark Voyage. So your character's like background is sort of predetermined a little bit, but that also meant that you had to like be really creative about why those things applied to your character and sort of create the story with them. Now they all had a benefit to them. So every one of those, well, not every one of them, the first few, the Homeworld, Birthright, and Lure to the Void, gave you like +5s and +10s to certain skills or certain stats, right? So it was very much like that's what I'm saying. If you've played Maximum Apocalypse, you know what I'm talking about. And then the others were like special abilities or extra XP, which translated into more skills or something later on. When you're almost done with your character creation, when you're in your career path, you could choose. If you had extra XP, you could spend that on like more skills and stuff. So that's how they sort of worked out. Now there was a supplement that came out before we started, so sometime around before we started actually playing. A second supplement came out that added another series of those, so it added like another stack of all that. It basically doubled all of those things, which essentially meant that you could choose between each time you went down. So instead of being going from Nobleborn to Vaunted, you could go down Nobleborn to like right below that would have been something like Fonted or, and then there was another one, right? I don't remember what it was, but it sort of created a more variant to the character's background. And I chose some of those options. I chose, like, I sort of mixed it between those and these, because I started with, so up here it says Hive World, right? That was like the option, Hive World, that red line, and you see how you could go down from the red down to Rogue Trader. I chose, instead of that slot, there was instead of it was shipborn, right? So you're born on a Rogue Trader ship. And so I was like, yeah, let's do that. So I started off, like, the ship that we had was the ship I had been born on, and it was the ship that had, like, been mine forever. Which sort of led to, like, I had, like, special bonuses because of that. So so the character creation was super cool, and it made me able to, like, design a character that, like, starting off already had a background. Like, I already knew the history of my character in the Warhammer 40k universe, because I had to make a series of choices when creating them to create the character that I wanted. And if I didn't do the creation right, then I didn't have a Rogue Trader. And so there was like a pro and con to that. Like, the con is that if you wanted to create a Rogue Trader, or any of the specific classes, right? If you want to be an Astropath Transcendent, for example, you had to go a certain path, the gray path that I've shown there. Like, if you didn't go that path or something like that path, then you weren't going to be an Astropath Transcendent. So there was a downside to that. The upside was, though, that there wasn't like a wild swing in like a character who is noble born that is somehow an Astropath Transcendent, right? Like, it just wouldn't happen. So like, there was a very interesting character creation, in my opinion, and it made me really like it. Now, the others, I don't think necessarily the other players like enjoyed that aspect. I really loved that aspect. So I enjoyed that. So that's why Rogue Trader is my favorite so far. Now, I will say, and this will be my disclaimer before I end this video, because we're almost at the end here. I give Rogue Trader 2 thumbs up. I will say you kind of have to play with the right group, because Warhammer 40k can divulge into two things. We had a space fight that lasted like a session, almost a second session. Like, we finished it off in the second session, but it almost lasted like 2 sessions, which is really dumb. And I mean, these were like, we weren't playing for like an hour. These were like 4-hour sessions. We played 4 hours of a space combat, and then we did like 30 minutes at the beginning of the next session to finish it off. That's not so great. So there is that downside. The other side is that, like, if your friends in your group are not really into the Warhammer 40k universe, there could be some weirdly non-immersive stuff that happens. Because, like, your game master has to be pretty good at the universe. Otherwise, you'll have strange stuff. Like, we encountered an Imperium vessel, like an Imperial Navy vessel, and I just thought, I'll just chat them up, and didn't realize that was really a bad idea. It was because I didn't really know anything about the Warhammer 40k universe as well as I thought I did. So anyway, so I give it 2 thumbs up. You should play that game. Now, disclaimer, I do have the Wrath and Glory rules, like I said. I have not played it before. I have read through it, and I think there's lots of cool things that it does, but I haven't actually played it. And from what I have read from other people who've reacted to playing it, I'm in some groups for it. The people that play it say that there's some issues with the power abilities, or the power levels, and like the enemies. And sometimes you're playing a tier 2 game, and the monsters that are supposed to be tier 2 just chew through everybody. And then sometimes you're playing a tier 3 game, and you just kill everything that's tier 4 monsters. So like, there's like this weird power issue with the game, and I'm not sure that they'll ever be able to figure it out and how to fix it, but that's fine. So that's a disclaimer. The disclaimer is I've never actually played Warhammer 40k's Wrath and Glory, so I can't say if it's better than Rogue Trader or not. But out of the ones that I have that do exist, Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader, Deathwatch, Black Crusade, and Only War, I have touched base with Dark Heresy and Deathwatch, and I've read the book for Black Crusade. None of them are as interesting to me as Rogue Trader is, because of that freedom that the characters have to be able to do all kinds of stuff. And when we played our campaign, we did all kinds of stuff. We like took over a planet. We investigated lots of Xenos things. We killed a bunch of aliens once. We did some cool stuff. And then we also, like, there was like, we got attacked by pirates, and we stole their ships, like we stole them. We boarded another Rogue Trader ship and took it. It was really fun. It was really a fun campaign. So Yeah, so I mean, I don't know that you can do half that stuff in the other games. Maybe Dark Heresy is pretty fun. I would say the Dark Heresy could probably be pretty fun because you're doing a lot of like investigatory stuff and like looking into things. And the thing to note is that Wrath and Glory tried to combine all of them, and so you can play these different characters doing these different things. So they try to combine aspects of all, where there could be like lots of space combat or lots of regular combat, or there's lots of investigation. So Wrath and Glory is trying to mix them all up. So maybe it's really good. I don't know. But I would say 2 thumbs up for Rogue Trader, and I can't say anything about the other ones without necessarily pissing anybody off or being unfair to them, because I didn't have as much of an experience with them as I did with Rogue Trader. So that's going to be my video, though. That'll be another 20-minute video down for me. I will see you guys later, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks.